Myself Amita Asthana from AKGC Ghaziabad. In today's video lecture, we will be studying about the calculation of inverse Laplace transform. As we all know that Laplace transform is a tool to convert or to analyze the signal, actually basically the continuous signals into the S domain, or we can say that is where S is defined as sigma plus j omega. Okay, so we define the signals in S domain by taking the Laplace transform. Imagine we have converted the signals into the S domain. Now we want back to the time domain, that retrieving the Laplace transform from its this sequence back from it, that is known as in taking the inverse Laplace transform. So here let us consider one function where we are given the x's. This Laplace transform is given, and this is in the form of numerator, some polynomial in numerator and some polynomial in denominator, where these are the coefficient b0 plus b1 b2 bm and a0 a1 a2 up to an are the coefficients, and these coefficients may be real, may be complex, where m and n are positive integers. So how to calculate the inverse Laplace transform? This function is defined basically in the S domain. So we need to convert it in xt. That means from x's we need to derive the xt. So actually there is no direct formula for the calculation for this particular calculation of inverse Laplace transform. But what we do is we just convert this given x's in such a form that we have already got the Laplace transform of it, and we can take the inverse very easily. How we take? Let me explain. So let's say we are given with this x's. Okay, now we will perform the partial fraction expansion. Partial fraction expansion. So a straightforward approach is to factorize into simpler terms and calculate the coefficients, and hence we can get the poles in the form of these s minus pi, s minus p2, s minus pn, and so on. So here we are factorizing this, and then we have done the partial fraction expansion for the given x's. Now supposingly there are distinct and non-repeated root. This is case 1. So if these p1, p2, pn are all distinct or non-repeated, okay, where pi is not equal to pj and I is not equal to j. So how to calculate the Laplace transform for that? So here all these coefficients c1, c2 up to cn, ci's are known as the residues, and constant ci is real if the pole is real, and if let's say two poles are occurring in the conjugate pair, then we will take the ci as well as ci star, that means the complex conjugate of ci in the partial expansion technique. So once the partial fraction expansion job is done, then we can easily find out the inverse Laplace transform for the given partial fraction expansion. So here let's say we have one example, that is this example. Let us consider this s plus 2 upon s cube plus 4s square plus 3s. So now we will factorize this particular, okay, and after factorizing we get the factors like this, and we will check all the poles, 0, this is -1 and this is -3. All these three poles are different. when these poles are different, then we can apply the formula in this way, and we can have this C1 upon S plus C2 upon S plus 1 plus C3 upon S plus 3, and hence we can calculate the partial fraction expansion. Now, this C1, to calculation of C1, C2 and C3, okay, after factorization, I told you we need to calculate the residues, because this is a residue method. This is a residue method, so we need to calculate the CIs. So how to calculate the CIs? We will just take this first one, C1 S x's at S is equal to 0. So here we will put the total term, right? And this x's at S is equal to 0, we get this 2 by 3. So we will take C1 is equal to 2 by 3. And similarly, C2 here S plus 1, formula says the pole will come here and the x's and the value will be calculated at -1. Similarly, this will come out to be -1 by 2, and C3 is S plus 3 into x's at S is equal to -3. So S plus 2 upon S, S plus 1, that is at S is equal to -3, we will calculate -1 by 6. So C2 will be coming out to be -1 by 2. And C3 will be coming out to be -1 by 6, and hence we can write this x's in this particular form. So this is how we calculate all these values for the coefficient C1, C2 and C3, and then take the inverse Laplace of this. The 1 upon S, the inverse Laplace will be 1 or maybe ut, and -1 by 2 e raised to the power minus t for S is equal to -1. When there is a minus sign, it will come out to be positive. Here, since it is a plus sign, so here I am taking the minus sign. Similarly, we will do for this, for plus, here I will put the minus, as the formula is like that. And if you want to multiply, you can multiply by the unit step function for proper representation. Okay. Now, if the coefficient, this was the case where the poles were distinct and we have calculated the coefficients very easily. Now let's say if all the coefficients of the denominator are real, then the polynomial is a combination of real or complex conjugate poles. Okay. Now, if let's say the poles are distinct and they are occurring in their conjugate pairs, complex conjugate pairs. So how to represent? Let us, this P1 is occurring as its conjugate term also. So we will have this particular representation, that C1 upon S minus P1 and C1 complex conjugate S minus P1 complex conjugate. So similar way we will represent, where P1 is sigma plus j omega, then P1 its complex conjugate will be sigma minus j omega. Now the inverse transform for this will be given by C1 e raised to the power P1 t, C1 bar e raised to the power P1 bar t, plus and so on. We can easily write the inverse transform for the given function. Now here one modification is there, that just look at the okay. See, look at this, when it is occurring in its conjugate, when it is occurring in the conjugate, then how to visualize in the S-plane? For that visualization, we need to calculate the angle also. And here we can represent as 2 mod of C1 e raised to the power sigma t cos omega t plus angle of C1 and so on, and the normal term will written like this. Since C1 is occurring in its complex conjugate pair, see here C1 is it in complex conjugate. So how to visualize this? C1 e raised to the power p1 t, c1 bar e raised to the power p1 bar t. And for this particular pole which is occurring in the complex conjugate, we will write this term. Okay, this is one modification for the poles if they are occurring in the conjugate pairs. Let us consider one example, that is s square minus 2s plus 1 is the example upon s cube plus 3s square plus 4s plus 2. So here if I factorize this, okay, if I factorize this, I can say this is one pole and this is the complex conjugate of the particular pole. So here the process for calculating C1 and C3, okay, C1 and C3 is same, only for a slight modification. Now I need to calculate the mod of C1. So C1, since I know that it is occurring in the conjugate form, so I will calculate the mod of this minus 3 by 2 square plus 2 square under root, and hence I will calculate the value of the mod of C1 and that comes out to be 5 by 2. Okay, so here what we can do is we can calculate the minus 3 by 2 square plus 2 square, okay, and in the same way what we can do is we can get the 5 by 2 as the value for mod of C1. Now I need to calculate for the angle of C1 also, because here I need to put it in this particular form, right? Now coming to the sigma part, so what should be the sigma? So that is important, and for this that will be real part of P1. So here the real part of P1, as I can see from here, the sigma is the real part of P1. So for this P1, since here this P1 is nothing but minus 1, as we can see this is the minus 1 is the P1, so I can write it here as sigma. Now I will put all these values in this particular, and this term is the inverse Laplace for the conjugate pair, and this is as the normal inverse Laplace transform. So that is how we calculate the inverse Laplace transform if the poles are occurring in conjugate pairs. Now the next case, the next and a very important case, that sometimes poles are repeating. So what to do when the poles are repeating? Then how the calculation are going to be done for calculation of EILT. So here in this example, let us consider one Laplace transform X's, and that is C1 upon S minus P1 plus C2 upon S minus P1 square. That means here P1 is occurring more than once. So the poles are repeating, and if the poles are repeating, then how the calculation for the residues will be done, this is important. So for that, if the non-repeating, then we will perform the normal process, right? S minus P1 X is S is equal to Pi, and for I, whatever value for I, whatever number of poles we are having. And if the repeated poles, in the third case where the poles are repeating, then if the repeated poles are there, then the residues will be calculated as CR minus I, that is 1 upon factorial I d upon dsi s minus P1 raised to the power R, X is S is equal to P1 dash I is equal to 1 to R minus 1. So here, since this is repeated as R times, so we will put the value of, here the power will come out to be R, here see the power will be coming out to be R, right? So this point is to be noted very carefully, that how many times the poles are getting repeated, that is important. Now if the poles are real, if the poles are real and repeating, if the poles are complex and they are repeating. So again there are two cases, sub cases, when the poles are repeating but they are real and they are complex. So how to how to go for this, that we will consider one example. Let's say we have x's is 5s minus 1 upon s cube minus 3s minus 2. So we have one pole which is repeating, that is c1 upon s plus 1 by the partial fraction expansion rule, and here this is the complex also, and this c3 upon s minus 2, this is as a normal term. That's a real pole. Okay. Now to calculate the c1, c2 and c3. So for this we will proceed by the normal procedure, and since c1, see here, the c1 is complex as well as it is repeating. So if c1 is complex and repeating also, then we can put the formula as we have d upon ds I, d upon ds s plus 1 square xs, and at x is equal to minus, s is equal to minus 1, and we will perform the differentiation process, and putting the value of s is equal to minus 1, we can get the result as minus 1. Now again the c2, s plus 1 square xs, s is equal to minus 1. So here for this c2 we can calculate as 2, similar process, and then c3 we can calculate as 1, and putting all these values for this minus 1, the 2 and 1 here, and taking the inverse Laplace. For this the inverse Laplace will be t e raised to the power minus t with the coefficient 2 and e raised to the power 2t for t is greater than equal to 0. So this is how we can perform the inverse Laplace transform for the third case. Now there are some useful formulae which are very important while calculating the inverse Laplace transform. So we can directly relate them to find out. So here if I want to calculate the inverse Laplace transform and I am given the x's in my S domain, so how to perform? So one, the inverse Laplace transform I will take directly, whereas the ROC is also defined, the region of convergence is defined as all S. Similar way, all S, this is considered as del t minus A. Okay, so this is also important. In the previous lecture I have already explained that the ut, the Laplace transform of ut is 1 upon s, but it is only for real part s is greater than 0. The region of convergence will be s greater than 0, that means the right side of the s plane. So this is important, and while we are taking the inverse Laplace transform, we can, for an extent, we can define there the region of convergence for these values, but we need to write over there. Okay, so 1 upon s, the inverse Laplace transform will be ut. Similar way, e raised to the power minus as upon s, the inverse Laplace transform will be ut minus a. Minus 1 upon s, the inverse Laplace transform will be minus 1 upon n s, and see this is real part of s is less than 0, that means the region of convergence is obviously the left side of the S plane. So the system is being anti-causal because all the values are lying for the negative side of the S plane for t is less than 0. So for t ut, this is also inverse Laplace 1 upon s square t ut. All these formulas are very useful for calculation of inverse Laplace transform. So at this particular point we need to learn all these Laplace transform formulae for the better calculation of the function xt. In the similar way, t e raised to the power minus at ut, if let's say xs is given in this form as we have done already, that this is what? This is a case of repeated root. Repeated root as well as it is real. If a is real, If A is complex, then it may be complex. So we can directly write this as t e raised to the power minus at ut. So whatever transform we have calculated so far, we can multiply it by ut also for the complete representation. Similarly, all these formulas are very important. When the excess is given in this form, we can write it sin omega t ut, and s upon s square plus omega square is given like this. We can write in this way. So all the ROCs, whenever we are writing the formula, these region of convergence must be defined and well calculated. So let us applying these formulae. Already we have derived in the previous lectures. So xs is equal to 1 upon s plus 1 square. Let's say this is given. So 1 upon s plus 1 square. So here we will go. So we will apply this particular formula, and this will be t e raised to the power minus at ut. So similarly we will write t e raised to the power minus a is equal to 1. So we will just put the formula and calculate the inverse Laplace transform, and this xt is nothing but the ILT for the given x's. Similarly here this one is the case where s plus 1 is square plus 1. So what should be the inverse Laplace of this particular? So now applying this formula, so here this is 1, it is in this form. So we can apply e raised to the power minus at sin omega t, and omega is 1 t ut. In the similar way, this is one special case where xs is given, the power of the numerator is higher than the power of denominator. Then we need to perform the long division method. Perform the long division, and after performing the long division method, the usual method will be adopted, and calculation of the terms suitable to the formulae should be written, and we can apply the formulae directly to calculate the inverse Laplace transform. And but taking care of the numerator power should be less than the denominator power, and poles, and take care of the poles, whether they are distinct, whether they are same, whether they are complex, and so on. Thank you.